Good morning, everyone. My name is Sope Agbebi. I am an investment professional. You are welcome to Audacity with PS. Welcome back to Audacity with PS. I would like to say thank you, first of all, to Pastor Shola Okudua for giving me this opportunity to speak about my finances and I in this episode. Now let's go right into it. Before we go right into it, I would like you to share the link. I would like you to post it on your social media handle and tell a friend to join in immediately. Now let's go into the topic for today's episode. The topic for today's episode is my finances and I. In other words, you as a person, there's an aspect of your life which relates to your finances, and it simply talks about your money. So I have come for your money this morning. Anyway, that's just on the lighter note. I'll be talking about three important things that we ought, to know, as a professional, as a student, as a business entrepreneur, whatever level or status you have in life. I'll be discussing about three key things that you need to know to be able to maximize your finances. All right. The first thing we'll be talking about is budgeting and managing your finances in order to achieve your goals, your financial goals. Now, what is budgeting? Budgeting is a structured way in which you put your finances together. In a summary, it is a system whereby you allocate several expenses that you incur, probably on a monthly basis, and you attach a percentage to it. You also have your income aspects of your finances, where you record how income flows into your account, probably on a monthly basis or however that happens. So it's just to provide some sort of order in your finances and to provide financial control. I'm sure you've had a situation whereby you looked at your bank account and you realized that what happened? Where did all my money go to? What have I been utilizing funds for? Then you ask yourself a question: what is it that I've been spending my funds on? In order for you not to be in that sort of situation, it is very important that you have some form of control of your finances, and you being able to have a budget will provide such a control. Remember, budgeting helps you in achieving your goals. Now, you may have short-term, medium-term, or long-term financial goals, and then you have a structure whereby you know what comes into your hand. If you're a business person, you may not be able to ascertain what the income, the amount of income that may come into your hand, because your money or your income is not fixed. However, if you're a career professional, have an idea of what it is that you earn, and so you can factor that figure in. As a career professional, I say this is XYZ amount of money I'm expecting, in this period. As a business person, you can estimate, all right, and put in a figure there. Then you now need to do a thorough check of your daily expenses. I mean daily expenses, in such a way that you can categorize, your expenses into several heads. For instance, you could have a category called utility, you could have a category called power, you could have a category called feeding, called clothing, also a category called, your seeds, which you normally would give. So all these things gives you a structure in such a way that when money comes in, they are already fitting into the structure you've created. In that way, you provide control where your resources come. You provide a system whereby your money can find, expression, so to speak. And in that way, you can ascertain how much you have under your savings head, for instance. And then you can begin to plan towards whatever you want to achieve in the short term, in the mid-term, or in the long term. For instance, a medium-term goal might be that, you want to buy a car, as a business owner, or as a founder of a startup, or as a mid-year career level professional. Then you can know that, okay, if I'm saving this amount of money, this is the kind of car I'm going to be able to buy at the end of a year and a half, for instance. In other words, you are not just wishing for a car, but you are making natural you're making natural plans, right? In such a way that God can make those resources available for you. I tell you one thing, budgeting is something that God is very, very particular about, because God doesn't waste resources, and as such, He's always going to look out for people that are not going to be wasteful, so to speak. You remember the story of the 5,000 that were fed with 7 loaves and 2 fishes. Guess what? When the miracle happened and there were excesses of, the bread and the fish, guess what Jesus said? I would have thought Jesus would have said, don't worry, you can just allow those, the remaining ones to waste. No, He said they should pack them in 12 baskets. And that's, just speaks to the fact that God is so concerned about order in our lives. All right? And so budgeting provides that, to every single person. This is not limited to, people in workplaces or entrepreneurs, business owners, also to you as a student, as an intern, whatever level or phase or status you are in life, you need to start budgeting. For me as a person, I have a structure. I'm a very structured person where my finances is concerned, and any inflow that comes into my hand automatically has several heads where they flow into. Cost priority is my tithes. Secondly, my the seeds that are proposed in my heart to sow, and then other expenses that I take care of as a person, as a person generally. So this is just to let you know that where your finances are concerned, you need to be very, very intentional about it, because God doesn't bless a mess. In fact, there are certain times that when I realize that maybe things are not properly done based on how I've allocated my expenses based on the income that I earn, I realize that sometimes there's a cut in supply, because there's always that flow of God's blessing that comes when He knows that, yes, this person is determined to do XYZ and do XYZ here. Now I can provide, funding. God is the one that funds us. He's our supplier. Glory be to God. And as such, He requires us, to be prudent with whatever money he gives to us, via whatever channel, via contract as a business person, via your pay as a career professional, via gifts as a student, your pocket money that your parents gives to you. And just to also mention that even as a student, you can start, from where you are. You can begin to say, this is the amount of money that I want to, be given as offering on a monthly basis. This is what, definitely I'm going to give my tithe from whatever comes into my hand. And these are the other heads, utility, feeding, clothing. You have your own savings too. Very important, because it's from your savings that you can actually take advantage of opportunities that will come to you in the future. Opportunity for investments, opportunity, to be a blessing, to other people. Opportunity, to be able to, go for that course. By the time the course that you really want to do, you see it and you know that you have funds to go for it. So savings help you to take advantage of opportunities that may come across your way in life generally. So budgeting is very key, and as a person, you must always realize that when you have a budget, because money is spiritual, money is very spiritual, and it takes the nature of whoever has it. So when money comes into your hands, it's more or less looking for expression, and budgeting creates a way whereby it gives it that expression. And as a responsible person that you are, you must always ensure that your money flows in the direction where God would have you allow it flow into. Giving into his kingdom, giving to people, sowing seeds, being a blessing to people, and of course yourself, in terms of things that you need, and also your own personal savings, which will create an avenue for you to be able to take advantage of opportunities that come in the future. All right, next thing is saving for emergencies. We all know that we live in an uncertain world, all right? We know that, the future belongs to God. And as such, what we need to do, as a person where our finances is concerned, is that we need to always have a plan. Always have a plan. Plan for unexpected things, that may occur in the course of the times and the season that we live in. I'm reminded about a story, in scriptures, the story of Joseph. Joseph lived, in a particular day and age where something happened to the king then in Egypt, Pharaoh. He had a dream and he couldn't interpret it. However, David was there, got the interpretation from God. Bottom line, he was able to save the nation called Egypt, and indeed the surrounding nation, because at a particular time when there was abundance, he preferred a solution of being able to save, and so he was able to save against the period of not enough. Now you may be saying, is there really going to be a time when there may not be enough? I trust in God, is one who supplies my needs according to his riches and glory and all that. Beautiful. But of course, there are times when you are going to get certain instructions too, that this wind flow is not to be spent on frivolities. It's not to be, to be used in just, splurging and buying things all around you, whereby you have a future, when you're going to really need those funds. You can begin to even save, such excess funds that come into your hands, so that you are spending from the returns from your investments, rather than the figure or the amount that comes into your hands. So that's what I would just say about saving for emergencies. When you save for, let me just add one or two things. When you save for emergencies, you relieve yourself from pressures. You relieve yourself from several pressures. I'm just reminded about a particular training that I just saw recently, and I thought about registering for it. And of course, I I already have a savings, and that savings provided, that platform for me to be able to register, for that training. So it is important that you are able to, think through and project and save, for the future, for emergencies. Emergencies doesn't necessarily mean negative situations like maybe time of famine, time of economic scarcity, or when prices are high, as we have it currently. The inflation is on an all-time high, exchange rate is very high, and all. Not only not only when things are in the negative, but it also borders on you being able to save for eventualities that would have to happen at some point or stage in your life. You must always think through about your stage in life, where you are in life, what's going to be happening in the next 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, and know that there will be certain financial obligations that will be required of you at that point in time. That's another kind of emergency, which is waiting for you down the line. So you must have a savings culture, all right? And the savings I'm talking about is not just putting your money in the bank account, where you're even getting charges from the bank, without you spending your money. I hope every month you get some little charges here and there. But you can also invest your savings in low risk investments out there. There are several of them out there, and you can always get more information about it from an investment professional. All right, so we are going to the next thing now, the third thing, which is planning for retirement and the strategies you can implement in order to plan your retirement. All right, it's always very important to have a long-term view about your life, and your finances is critical to that future of your life. So you are going to retire one day, all right? And as much as maybe you don't want to think about it, you're still very young, you're still, all that, but there's going to come a time where you now need to start consolidating on everything that you have done, so far, since you got into that career, since you got into that business, how you've been able to scale, how you've been able to, do so many awesome things, and make a lot of money. Now, your retirement is a stage in life whereby you really, are not in a situation or in a phase where you can actively, be utilizing, your skill, your knowledge, and all that to be able to create value that will eventually get income into your hand, which is what we are doing now because we are young and all. At that point in time, you are already getting to a stage where you're no longer as active or as as active as you should be. Let me just leave it as that. And such time, you need to still keep yourself in a state where you are not a burden to the younger ones, to your children, and maybe family members and your friends or former colleagues or former business partners and the likes. So what you need to do right now before that time comes, this topic is very, very important because sometimes it looks like we have all the time in the world. Yes, it may look like it, but at the same time, minute by minute, hour by hour, day and night, months culminating to years, and so we are growing, we are attaining growth, all right, in terms of our age and all. So you must have a clear plan, for retirement, very clear one at that. And now, as career professionals, there's already a plan that your workplace will give to you, and based on the policy of the government where you work, you already have a pension retirement plan I tell you, that's just the very base of the plans that you can have. You should not, in any way, just, see that as your last resort for, income when you retire. That's like the foundation, all right? And for those who are business professionals, you may be thinking, okay, I don't have a pension account. That's if you don't have one. Maybe, you're a startup person and you're still scaling up, or you just have a business and you don't really, you don't have that system of, remitting pensions or giving or saving where that aspect is concerned. You can also still register under a pension, one of the pension custodians, and register, as a contributory person. We have the voluntary contributions which employees do on a monthly basis, and we have the contributory one, and we have the voluntary contribution, and we have the contributory aspect. So you can just decide that this is what you want to be doing on a monthly basis, and they will give you, the avenue to be able to do that. Now, everybody, to an extent, let's say we are all covered under that kind of scheme. There's also something else you can do in order to plan for your retirement. Now is the time when you need to begin to take, certain steps in order to secure your financial future. Now you're going to look at the area of asset classes that we have, available, and you now begin to invest in it. You have to develop an asset allocation for yourself. What's going to fit you as a person? You can say, okay, out of the money that I have for investment, I want to do 40%, for instance, in an asset class called equities. I want to do, maybe, 25% in real estate, and the rest in low risk investments like placements, like fixed income instrument, bonds, treasury bills, and the likes. So you must be able to have that sort of plan, so that you're not leaving everything to the pension organization that you're remitting to on a monthly basis. Because what they do there is to keep your funds for you. They make money from your funds, Meanwhile, they give you, some little returns. But you have to be very intentional as to how you want to plan for your own retirement. In other words, analyzing yourself, your risk tolerance level, your risk profile, and moving funds in accordance to that asset allocation I just mentioned about. And so our retirement time in the future is a stage whereby we should have, residual income. Residual income, these are income that comes, out of, certain things that you have done. So we should be able to live off from our residual income, not even touching the principal. That's the goal, that's the aim, God wants us to prosper. He said in 3 John 3 chapter 2, "Beloved, I wish above all things that you prosper and be in health even as your soul prospers." The key word there, He delights in us, prospering. And He's going to supply the wisdom. There's a wisdom dimension and there's a power dimension where it comes to our finances. I mean, Audacity with PS, most of the time we drill down on the wisdom principles. We are not negating the supernatural hand of God, being able to cause, power for us to get wealth. It is also something we are operating by, which we channel in our different fields and endeavors. But you must also be very practical. You have to be wise as a serpent and gentle as a dove. You shouldn't come to the fact that, oh, God is going to take care of me. I don't need to put these plans in place. My retirement, my future is secured in God. I can, God is there for me and all. Yes, He is. But He was also the one that instructed Joseph, to save during the time of surplus in order to cover for the time of famine. Okay, so this is retirement. And begin to think about your retirement from today. All right, you may not be married now, you may not have children now, you may still think you have a long time before that point. do not wait till that point in time, maybe when you are, almost retiring, and then you now start putting plans in place. That may be too, long a time, and you may not be able to cover ground as much as you can now that you are still quite young. All right. So I've been able to talk about three major things, about our finances. Today's episode, borders on your finances, right? And how you can maximize it. You can become financially independent, down the line. All right. And I've talked about three major things. So the first thing is budgeting. Budgeting in order for you to be able to accomplish your financial goals. Your budgeting is very key. As a person, you must always have a template, a budget, where it gives a summary of how funds come in and leaves your life, basically. And as such, it's going to really help you providing financial control for you, and you being able to better plan and even maximize, your life. All right. The second thing I talked about was saving for emergencies, and the story of Joseph just, buttresses that. And now, sometimes we want to think about, okay, when that challenge comes, when that need comes, we are going to be able to fund it. God will bring the funds in, or I will tell my uncle to send in, some dollars from the US, or, I'm expecting some funds in the future and all those things. Guess what? All those, avenues or channel may not really show up by the time you need it then. But now, when they are still, coming in, you need to have a plan for emergencies in the future. And as such, you should, have a system whereby all your funds, all your the resources, the financial resources that comes into your hand, they have a particular aspect. There's a particular aspect that you move funds into that is left there for such emergencies or for such uncertainties that may happen in the future. And of course, we talked about the third thing, which is retirement planning, and being able to strategies for saving for you to have a good financial retirement life. And I tell you that retirement is a period of time where we all get to at some point, and we need to have those strategies in place. The first strategy I mentioned about was the one we already know of, and which is just like a foundation. We have pension funds, we have contributory, and we have voluntary contribution and all that. And as such, all those things have been created by the labor law, the government in place and all, so that they just provide some sort of so that when people are retired, they won't become a liability to the government, really. So they help people plan about their own retirement. But how much more you thinking ahead of them? Nobody should be planning for you. Yeah, you do that, and that's just the base. But you need to go ahead and look at yourself right now. What are the risks that you can take? And develop an asset allocation to that structure. What is an asset allocation? It's just buckets in which your funds can be invested in. So we have several asset classes. We have equities, which is the most volatile one. All right. And when we are young, we can still play in equities because we can leave our funds there and watch it go down, up until it gets to a level that we come out of it. We sell our shares. But of course, that may not be appropriate for someone who is near retirement, because you want to put your funds in more in investment that will preserve your capital. But when you keep your assets in equities, it fluctuates. It can even erode the whole capital. But you can also gain so much, up to 30% or even double what you've put in. But you need to be able to think about it and know how much of your finances can go into that based on the stage you are right now in life. And that's equities. Then you have other aspects, real estate. You can buy land. You can, even though land is quite illiquid, but you can still keep it, and in the future it should have appreciated, and you can sell it off and make some funds from that. Then you have other asset classes, the low risk investment out there, the money market funds, the mutual funds, fixed deposits, the bonds, and treasury bills, which you can easily just put your funds, and be rest assured that, your capital is preserved and you earn, a reasonable return. All right, so that's, sort of to bring a summary, to give you a summary of everything I've talked about where your finances are concerned. We are living in such a time where it is important that we become financially independent. Yeah, I know it's a journey, I know it's a process, but we must always envision how can I get to that level. And I hope these 3 strategies, have somewhat provided, some guidance or some, something to provoke those thoughts along that line, in your mind, because it is very key. It is very important for every one of us to attain to financial independence in life. I tell you, one thing is, the joy about this is the fact that, you get to a stage in life where you do not require any aid or support from a man. It's called financial freedom. It's such a stage whereby you, in your what you've been able to do, how you've been able to do it, by the help of God, of course, you've gotten to a point where you are the one blessing other people. You have so much, just like Abraham, that you have enough to give, people. That's the promise of God for our lives, and it's going to take, natural principles like this, and of course, the edge, the supernatural that we have, to cause power for us to get wealth, which will also, work in. I hope this episode of Audacity with PS has been one where you've been able to learn, 1 or 2 things. And I just want us to, as we wrap up this morning, say the creed together right about now. All right, are we ready to say the creed? Okay, you can lift your right hand up and say after me. As sure as God helps me, I will not give up, I will not quit, I will not fail, I will not fear, I will not die until my job is done and victory is won. I am the new and I love this church. Thank you very much for joining this episode, and have a fantastic week ahead. Bye for now.